governor of Obanul State, when a terrorist bombed a Catholic church on Christmas Day in Madawa, the terrorist was apprehended. The terrorist escaped jail, escaped prison. They had a prison break and the terrorist ran away. Do you know where the terrorist was found? And do you know who the terrorist was found with? The terrorist was found in the Borno State government house in Asokoro in Abuja with the current governors at that time, who is now the vice. Hello viewers, welcome to the show. Welcome to Discuss, where we discuss hard-hitting topics that affect the Nigerian space. We are your friends on the show, and as usual, we implore you to tag along with us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and share our video. Work with us. Here we remove our gloves. We tell the truth as it is. I trust that you will enjoy this, and I also trust that you will benefit from what we will discuss today. Once again, I am your host with the most. My name is Innocent. Welcome to Discuss. Today we are looking at governance and systemic failure in Nigeria. Governance and systemic failure in Nigeria. What is governance, or what is a system? Governance comprises of a system of administration, a system of operation for an organization or for a group of people, a system which an organization operates on or runs around. That is governance. You can call it a system or a mechanism by which both the leader and the led, both the ruler and the ruled, are held to account. That is governance. One thing is sure in this definition or in this description of governance, that is system. It is a system. You know, a system works like the engine. Yeah, they work together, but it has components. A system has components. In governance, the system of governance have three major components. It has the human element, it has the law, and it has the style. We're going to look at these three today to be able to identify some of the ways that the Nigerian system or the Nigerian governance has failed over the years. We talk about the human element, the law, and the style of governance. These make up the system. Don't forget, it is a system, so it works like the engine. Even though it has so many different components, it still works together. So the human element, this is what we call the government. They are the ones saddled with the responsibility of governance. These are the leaders. Call them the politicians. Even though they come in different shades, in different governments, in different countries, as it is in today's Nigeria, they are the politicians. They are the leaders. How did they fail over the years, from independence even up until today? How did they fail? They fail in so many areas. They fail by being corrupt. They fail by not having the interest of the populace at heart. They fail by not being able to screen themselves and ensure that a certain group of people or a certain class of people cannot get there. They fail by legitimizing an illegitimate system or style of bringing people to political power. They fail by affecting other elements of the system. Don't forget, it's a system, they work together. So what affects one affects the other. The misconduct or misbehavior of one or improper operation of one element of the system will affect the other ones. So you find out that because the human elements fail, the second part of the system, the law, also fails. Now, the law is a set of rules, but these are just words written on paper. They require the human element to be operational in the Nigerian space. Although the law is not that comprehensive enough, it's not all inclusive, it's dynamic, it changes with time, it can improve with time. But the failure of the human element in the Nigerian context didn't allow the Nigerian law to improve, to evolve, and to include some of those aspects that are not yet in it over the years. Outside that, the law, because of implementation, failed woefully. The human element that is supposed to implement the law did not. The area of the law that is covered, the area of the Nigerian life that is covered by the law is not fully implemented. The law becomes a cobweb. It becomes too strong for the weak to detain the weak, but very, very weak to hold the strong. The law becomes very partial. The law becomes very unfair. The law that applies to one no longer applies to the other. There is no rule of law. Why? Implementation. Implementation is because the law, in the rule of law, if a common man is jailed for stealing a fowl, the president will also be jailed the same time for stealing a fowl. But you and I know that is not the case in the Nigerian space. So the law, even though it is not comprehensive enough, the law we have is also not implemented. So the law failed in that regard. Don't forget, when one element failed, the other ones also fail. Thank God we started with the first one. Luckily enough, we started with the major part of the system, which is the human element of the system. When the human element fails, every other component of the system will definitely fail. So you see, the human element failed, the law failed, and also the style failed. The style, this is what they call some systems of government. Yeah, they call it systems of government in independent Nigeria. When Nigeria got independent in 1960, Nigeria wanted to borrow, or Nigeria borrowed, the parliamentary system of government, or what is called the cabinet system of government sometimes, as it is practiced in Britain. That is what is practiced in Israel today. That is what is practiced in Canada even today. In this system of government, the political party or the coalition of political parties that have the majority, they are the ones that form the government, and they have the prime minister. So in this system, the head of state is different from the head of government. In England, the head of state is the Queen of England, or the king now as it is. And in Israel, the head of state is the president, while the head of government is the prime minister in both cases. Nigeria borrowed this so that you had Nnamdi Azikiwe as the president. The president is ceremonial. The president is ceremonial. The day-to-day running of the government is usually in the hands of the prime minister. The prime minister then was Tafawa Balewa, as it was in Nigeria. But because of, I will implore you to please look at our previous episode, just the very last episode of Discourse, and you will see some of the issues highlighted there, the problem with Nigeria. I will refer you to that so that you will see some of the problems that have been endemic to Nigeria even before independence. Because of these problems, the parliamentary system didn't work well in Nigeria. Soon afterwards, the parliamentary system degenerated into full-blown regionalism. Regionalism to the point that there was no longer a national political party. The system has failed already. Now what we had as at that time became regional political parties. Political parties that was solely owned by the North. Political party that was solely owned by the West. Political party solely owned by the East. So that it became like a crime. It became an offense for a political party viewed as an Eastern political party to win election in the West. All this happened because there was no proper implementation. Again, the human element. There was no proper implementation of this parliamentary system. So it failed. Soon afterwards, then came military coup. From military coup to the civil war. From civil war to another military coup. And before you know it, 13 full years have passed. And then came 1979. Nigeria decided to adopt the presidential system, or call it style. The presidential style of government. They call it the American system. They wanted to adopt the presidential system. Let me tell you that that is what is still being practiced in Nigeria today. The presidential system. But the problem with the presidential system of government is that it works well in a true federal system, in a true federation. I don't want to go deep into that, but I will tell you the difference between a federal system of government and a unitary system of government is just the constitution, the law, the rule of law. The law, the constitution of the land is what devolves power. That is what shares power between the central government or the federal government and the state government, just like it is practiced in America. But we do not have true federalism in Nigeria. And so the presidential system became a quasi-unitary system where the constitution becomes subjugated and be put under the whims and the caprices of the federal, so that the president becomes an executive president with ulterior power, so that the federal government now subdue the state as we have it in Nigeria. But in the US, where they have a true federalism, the presidential system is working very well. The constitution is supreme. The rule of law is the supreme. The law is the supreme thing. So the law devolves power. It tells the federal government, this is your power and this is the limit of your power. It tells the state government, this is your power and this is the limit of your power. So the law rules, not actually the system, not actually the style of government. It is the law that rules. So the power of the president was limited. That's what you see in America today. There are things that the president cannot do. There are things that if the president does it, it's against the law. Somebody can sue him. A state can sue him. When the federal government of the United States of America makes some laws that is against the federal can decide, we will not do it. We are not going to accept it. And so you find out that the law rules. So because there was no true federal system of government, occasioned by some of those problems that we highlighted in the previous episode, it became clear that the presidential system also failed in Nigeria. As it is today, in Nigeria, if there's a problem in the state, you will see them say, let the president intervene. Because there is no law that covers that. Because there is no rule of law. In a state, in a country where there is the rule of law, what does the law say is what will apply. If there is a conflict, if there's a problem in the state, then the law should apply. It is not the president to apply. But as we have it in Nigeria, it is the president that applies. So you find out that about every system has been tried in Nigeria. In 1966 or thereabout, the unitary system was also tried, and it exacerbated the disunity that was in Nigeria. The regionalism became so obvious. People began to kill each other. It's one of the things that led to the Civil War. I can tell you on good authority today that those disunity occasioned by our inability to talk to each other is still affecting our system today. A system that is failed. So you see, over the years, there have been one element or the other of the system that has failed. In fact, all of them has failed woefully. And that's why you see that governance has failed in Nigeria. Today, no part of Nigeria is looking at the government for anything. People need water, they sink their own borehole. People need transportation, they buy their own car. The reason is because government cannot be relied. Do you want power? Then go build your own power plant or buy a generator, power generating set. Because people are not relying on the government. Government schools becomes moribund. They are not actually functioning very well. Private schools function better. You know why? Systems have failed. The system of governance in Nigeria has not lived up to its billing. That's why you see that there are also manifestations. You will look at Nigeria, you will see the manifestations of system failure. How does system failure manifest? It manifests in the inability of the political leadership to identify the risks that system failure portends to the populace. Now, because they do not identify these risks, they are not able to put a mitigating factor, a controlling system in place to control those risks or to treat those risks. There is something we call risk assessment in my profession. In risk assessment, you identify the risk that is inherent in an activity or an operation. The risk, what could go wrong, and the consequence of what could go wrong. For example, if you are traveling from one city to the other, some of the risk is that there's a possibility of a road accident. So what could cause road accident? You look at it. You look at maybe a faulty tire, maybe a faulty mechanics in the car, maybe a bad road, maybe driving while drunk, maybe driving while sleeping, or sleeping while driving. These and so many other things. can cause road accident. Then you put them into context and put control measures. What do I do to ensure that it doesn't happen? You check your car very well. You check the tires. You change the tires. You ensure you didn't drink any intoxicating thing before you enter the steering. You make sure you slept very well last night, so that today you will be packed you will be in your element as you are driving on the road. These are control measures. But because the political leadership, because the system has failed, the political leadership is not able to identify this risk. What do you see in the society? What you see is violence, electoral fraud, corruption, terrorism, and I don't care the name you call it. Some call it farmers and herders conflict, farmers and herders clash. That's not what it is, bro. That is terrorism. Because when you bring your cow into somebody's farmland to eat up the crop, what are you trying to do? You are trying to grow hunger in the land. As you can see in Nigeria today, food items are quite expensive. You know why? It started over the years. And when the owner of the farmland complained and said, what are you doing in my farm? Feeding your cows with my crop. The man will pull his sword and kill the farm owner and kill the landowner, and then sit tight in his farmland. And when the communities protest and come with violence against the person who did that, the government will send the military. The military could come and race down the village, burn the village, kill both those who are involved and those who are not involved, including the owner of the land. A failed system. There is no procedure to handle this. This is very common. They even give a very beautiful name. They call it banditry. To make it acceptable, to make it admissible into the society, they call it banditry. That is terrorism. All this comes as a function of a failed system. Armed robbery, violence of any kind. People no longer talk to each other. They will choose to fight because the system has failed. If you kill somebody, you can go scot-free, and then they will just find the cops on the road. A failed system. All these are the manifestations. All these are the manifestations where you see electoral fraud, violence on election day, electoral fraud to the point that even the electoral umpire, INEC, is involved in electoral fraud. Electoral fraud where the person who gives the most bribe is the person who wins the election. These are manifestations of electoral system. Let me tell, system failure. Let me tell you too that there is no election in Nigeria that has not been rigged. Every election conducted in Nigeria from independence till now was rigged. It all depends on who rigged more. You see electoral fraud where people who are not qualified to be in elective position, they come to elective position. People who don't deserve to be there. People who by their past criminal records, they are supposed to be disqualified. They are the ones in leadership position. So when a system fails, what you see is that the system works in the reverse. Yeah, what was not supposed to be allowed is what will be allowed. What was not supposed to happen is what will be allowed to happen. Who was not supposed to be there is the one who should be there. We live in a country today, the country called Nigeria today is the place where instead of the system working to screen people before they come to political position, instead of the system working to ensure that people get to a political position because they are qualified for it, instead of the system working to ensure that the citizens get the benefits of democracy, instead of the system working to ensure that violence, intimidation, bribery, corruption, and terrorism, and all the evil vices in the society are controlled and mitigated, and ensure that anybody involved in such evil acts will not have a place in the society. What do we see? What we see is that the system now ensures that people with criminal records, people who forge certificates, people who have a rich criminal history, people who engage in the highest form of violence, people who sponsor or partake in terrorism, including sympathizers of terrorists, they are the ones who buy their way, who bribe their way to political leadership. The system has failed. The system failed to ensure that this class of people have nothing to do with power. They are now, the system now railroad them, help them to get to power. So what you see is a decayed system. What you see is a country that is battling for its life. What you see is a country where there will continue to be discordant tones, a country where peace will never be, and it is not a curse. I wish well for Nigeria. I want Nigeria to do well, but I am here to tell it to you truthfully as it is. What you see is a country where no one part of the country will be satisfied at any point in time because the system has failed. Check the last two presidents of Nigeria, the last one and the incumbent. Check both of them. These two people have zero corporate history. None of them have managed a business. None of them have run a company up to the point of maybe general manager or group managing director. No. But yet they want to run the economy of the country. No wonder you see that the former president, Buhari, he ran the country to economic recession multiple times. And you can see what is happening now. The last two presidents, they have zero corporate history, and they have questionable, controversial educational history. Buhari was the one that they had a forged WAEC certificate for him and display it. Tinubu, the same thing. He has no record of a primary school, no record of a secondary school attended. Even the university is questionable because you didn't attend secondary school. How could you have been to the university? Yet, he has a forged certificate. Today, he is the president. One of them, Tinubu, had a rich criminal history. He was convicted of drug-related offenses in the US. But today, he's the president of a free world. He's the president of a country that wants to get better. Now, tell me, where will the betterment come from? It is because the systems are bad. The systems have failed. That's why a system that prop up somebody like Tinubu and make him president is not what you can control or what you can correct in the ballot box. No, it's not what you can change or make better via election. I will urge you to refer to this former episode, the very last episode, the problems with Nigeria, and you will see how we try to explain some of the problems with Nigeria. Failed system is the one that propped up corrupt leaders, thieves, drug addicts, and drug peddlers. That is what brings them to power. And now, what about the vice president? When terrorists are in leadership position, you will know that the system has failed. When he was the governor of Obanul State, that is when Chibok girls were kidnapped in April 2014. He was the governor of Obanul State when a terrorist bombed a Catholic church on Christmas Day in Madala. The terrorist was apprehended. The terrorist escaped jail, escaped prison. They had a prison break and the terrorist ran away. Do you know where the terrorist was found? And do you know who the terrorist was found with? The terrorist was found in the Borno State government house in Asokoro in Abuja with the current governors at that time, who is now the vice president of Nigeria. So when you exalt a system that exalts drug addicts, criminals, terrorists, and terrorist sympathizers to leadership positions of a country, it's not a system you are going to correct in the ballot with the ballots. It's not a system you will change via election. And so what does Nigeria need? So you can see clearly, it is because the system is failed. That is why we have the crop of leaders that we have today. Yes, sir. And nothing is going to change it soon if Nigeria does not change. I can tell you that Nigeria needs a total democratic reform. Call it overhaul. In addition to all the solutions that we pinpointed in the previous episode. These are the things Nigeria needs. Nigeria needs to sit down and talk to itself. Nigeria needs to sit down and talk to Nigeria. Nigeria needs a total democratic reform where we will have the rule of law. In a city or in a nation ruled by the rule of law, everybody is under the law. Everybody is equal before the law. Here in Nigeria, we have leaders who are above the law. The law is nothing to them. A governor can steal money, steal whatever, kill whoever he want to kill, even threaten people and intimidate people, yet police will not arrest him. Police will tell you they are looking for him. They are looking for him. They are looking for him. How can he hide in a country when he was a governor? He is there in the country. They are looking at him. Tomorrow you will hear that the man has escaped to Spain. He has escaped to Virgin Island. If you look at the airport, police are there. He escaped from the airport. If you look at the embassies where he got his visa, police are there. But he escaped. They couldn't find him. And you believe that? A failed system. A failed system is strong enough for the poor to hold the poor accountable, but is very, very weak. It actually plays in the hands of the rich. That is a failed system. And can I shock you? There is no amount of election that will revive this system. What we need is a complete overhaul. Start from the beginning. Start from holding a referendum. Start from a constitutional conference. Start from true federalism. Start from evolving or developing a system of government that will work for Nigeria. Start from the rule of law, where the law will be supreme, where the law that governs the president is the law that governs a common man. If you apply the law, if you go by the provisions of the law, if the law is implemented and made to be supreme in the society, some of the people we have in power today shouldn't be in power, they should be in prison. This is what I call systemic failure of the Nigerian government. I hope you enjoyed it. I believe that you must have learned one thing or the other here. Nigeria is our own, and we all are interested in a working Nigeria. But we need to do what we should do. Can I tell you finally something? When the foundation is weak, I said it last week or last time in the last episode, then there is nothing that can be done. No matter how you love Nigeria, if you don't do what you should do, if we as a people don't come together and agree on what we should do, the problem will persist. I hear you say, pray for Nigeria. It's okay to pray, but I can tell you that faith without work is dead. If you are praying and you are not working, prayer is an act of faith. But if you are praying, but you didn't use work to support it, it is dead. No wonder Nigeria is still like this even after so many years of prayer. There are some fundamental things that needs to be done so that criminals don't assume power and put the law under their feet. I believe this has blessed you. Thank you so much for being part of this. As we normally say, like our videos, share our videos, subscribe to our channel. Help us to publish this news. In this course, we discuss hard-hitting topics and we bear our fans. We remove the globes, we tell the truth as it is, so that Nigeria can get better. God bless you until I see you next time.